Hello, my name is James Morgan. I've been a disciple for 30 years. I was baptised in 1990, and I'm married to the beautiful Deirdre Morgan, nee McGeorgan, which sounds almost exactly the same.
Hi, my name is Deirdre Morgan, and I've been a disciple 28 years, a little bit after James, early 90s. I was 21 when I got baptised.
So I'm going to read my first question. What does love mean to you? Love. What does love mean to me? I mean, the first thing that pops into my head, love is God. Also, the first thing that pops into my head is I didn't really understand love. I didn't even have a concept of love that was very well defined, like prior to 1990 when I was 21 years old. I remember being like stoned on cannabis and writing the word wife on the side of a table in one of my tables that I probably picked off a skip at the time, and just staring at it. And I didn't really have a clear idea how I was going to get to that stage. So I didn't even really want to have a definition of it, but now, it's just very, very clearly defined. So it's 1 Corinthians 13, 4, verse 4 onwards, and it's also like, listening to people, higher function, like, serving people with your being. Being patient with people. I mean, obviously that's part of the definition right there in 1 Corinthians, but it's laying down your life, like being prepared to be second as well, like be second, third, fourth, fifth, or last, mostly being last. A lot of times, like let's say in the last 15-20 years, it's been more about just being the last person to have an opinion about something, in a situation where it might cause any kind of upset of any kind. So just bearing with those kind of situations, long suffering. Yeah, that's mostly for me. And also I think, like, practically speaking, like taking care of people's practical needs, a lot of that as well, like,
What you said, James, really, I agree with a lot of it. I think for me, I was given fairly good role models of love as a child. I think for me it is long suffering. I would agree with that 100%. And I saw a lot of sacrifice, particularly on my mum's part, to raise 6 children, between the age of 0 to 8, like steps. So I saw a lot of that. But I think the bar got raised when I read the Bible and saw that long suffering is not just for people within your own family, within your own culture, but is for everyone. And as you said, like, patience is really, really important. Just to go beyond the normal levels of patience. And, being a Christian, I believe, is the only way that you can actually persevere to that extent and really love, to have the strength to keep loving, to keep being long-suffering, to keep bearing with. And, I think the scripture, 1 Corinthians 13, really defines it perfectly. The first aspect is patience. I think you can't really do the other bits without patience. You can't love fully. You've got to have that foundation of patience. And I think a little bit similar to what you were saying about being the last. I think it says in Romans, you've got to honour one another above yourself. So, which is a really lofty, kind of exalted view of love, and to really value the other person's opinion and to really give them space, give them time to process things. I think that's what I've learned as well in my journey so far, on this journey of love, really, because that's the Christian walk is very much about that. So it's just giving people time and space to express themselves, not jumping in, not being quick to listen, slow to speak, not letting the judgments fly, which I would have done as a younger person. So I think that's what love means to me.
Oh, is it my question then?
I think it's mine. If you could change one thing about our relationship, what would it be?
Oh gosh, you're asking me. Well, I think it would have changed our whole life absolutely radically and dramatically. But if we'd had 10 kids, like starting from when we got married, I mean, this would be a different video completely. But yeah, obviously we didn't, but
No.
you know.
I think we've grown in it, but I think we can be both very reactionary. So we've learned to sort of count to 10, delay our reactions, delay our responses. I think we're both sort of artistic creatives in our soul, so we just tend to respond very quickly. So I think just slowing the reactions down, and that would be the one thing that I would say that could change.
Yeah.
If God granted you a generous lump sum, where would you take us?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think God owes me. I mean, biblically speaking, I gave up what has now come to be known as a £250,000 inheritance. So he owes me, is it 100 times as much? Yeah.
I think so.
So 100 times £250,000 is 25 million. Yeah. I mean, I'm 51 now. I don't know how I'm going to get this 25 million, but I still believe that somehow it's coming. Somehow. I don't know. So if I got 25 million, where would I take you? I don't know. Where would you like to go?
I can't think. We've been to so many places. I haven't been to Finland yet. We've been to all the other Scandinavian countries.
I think like we would have a missionary tour, like what Kip has. That would be good, right? So we go back to Abidjan on the way.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we start off like visiting France, Stockholm, Amsterdam. Go to Finland and talk to some of your old friends there. Possibly touch base. I mean, there's 100 churches in the world, right?
Mm.
We've got 100 churches in the movement. We could have a goal of visiting every single one of them. You'd probably enjoy that, wouldn't you?
As long as it's over, not like a whistle stop tour where you're like. Yeah.
But like if there was one place. Like I said, Finland is the only place I haven't been to. So really? You'd only want, like if there was one place.
That's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head.
Mm.
Yeah. I think for you, the places that you like the Lake District. Obviously Scotland, now that you're planning to go, that you like anywhere with hills, because that's where you were born. You were born in the mountains, so I think anywhere where there's mountains to climb, where you could go camping. It's not necessarily about going to a nice hotel, or you'd like to be out there exploring the wilderness, seeing the little animals. the wildlife.
Somewhere like
that.
Lesotho, South Africa.
Really in the heat? I don't think you like heat.
Nah, but there's big mountains there.
Yeah. So anywhere that's cold,
Yeah.
that's got mountains. So yeah. So I think
that'll do me.
That's where I take you.
Mhm. Is it your question now?
Yeah. Tell me what your biggest challenge has been in our marriage.
I think just remaining calm and not reacting and controlling my anger. Really, that's been the main thing. So to leave room for lots of other types of reactions instead. The pleading voice, the saying nothing, the silence, the giving it a couple of hours to calm down and dissipate, different things like that. So yeah, just being patient and calm and not needing to say anything in a specific moment as a reaction. It's taken we're married 19 years, right? So
in April, yeah.
In April. So yeah, it's taken a good 15, 16 years to get better.
Yeah. Similar, but I think the reactions, I mentioned that before, but I think just being I can be very judgmental, so if I see anger or anything like that, or I just immediately label the person. So I've learnt not to be judgmental. I think just coming from quite a big Irish family myself, where it's the saying is true. There's Irish people are very temperamental. They express their anger, and I was always fighting against that growing up. I was the calm one in the family, maybe middle child, whatever. So I always had this kind of contempt for anger. I would really label people and for it. So now I realise it's just another reaction out of many reactions. So I think not to have been so judgmental, be very quick to, what's the Bible say? Don't be passing judgment on each other. Make up your mind to stop passing judgment. So not be so quick to pass judgment, to be quick to pass encouragement rather than pass judgment. What do you love the most about me?
Oh gosh. I mean, it's one of the main things at the minute. It's that you're like a professional wife. You're you're really good at being a wife because you've had 19 years of it, and you've kind of grown a lot in different areas during that time, so that you're very loving and caring and taking care of me, physically, doing stuff for me, or acts of service, but also just you've changed so many little things over the years to make yourself more like I want you to be. So I'm very satisfied. It's hard to. Yeah, what's the question again?
What do you love the most?
Yeah, just that you've grown so much. You've grown so much. I mean, it used to be before that you'd persevered a lot because you went through a lot of stuff before we were married during that 10 years after you got baptized, but now it's how far you've come, that you've got it together. You're a great professional person, and a great woman in the women's ministry and a great wife. Just that that you're really polished in different ways, like what I mean, all different ways. And I was telling you the other day, but when I look at other people like who are married a long time, people with good marriages, even who are not Christians, like Muslims or just people who have good marriages that have worked on it for a long time, they have this kind of smooth relationship, you know what I mean, where they kind of like, I don't know, they people look at them and they kind of think, wow, they're almost like a brother and sister, like they're very similar. Like that's kind of what I like about our you, like at the minute, that you've got that kind of relationship with me.
I think it's just the ideas that you have, like you've always like had the experience of working with all kinds of different people, like learning disabilities, mental health, elderly care. So you've always had like an intuition about people, not just relying on information about people, but you have an intuition about people, and that you're very good with sort of non-verbal stuff. And there's different people that we study the Bible with, or just are in the church, who have special needs of one kind or another. It could be mental health, it could be some kind of learning disability or whatever, and you just have a very deep intuition about how to help these people. And it's almost like you see it, like it's like a pathway. In the NHS we have pathways, don't we? Like, pathway for this, pathway for that, how to deal with a certain illness, etc. You've got a whole pathway that's laid out how you're supposed to help this person. And I think that's how you think. It's like there's a whole pathway. When you see somebody, you're like, no, we've got to tailor things to help this person. So I know that when I come to you for advice, you're going to give me a whole pathway, and that's very reassuring, because it gives a light at the end of the tunnel, because some people have a lot of problems, and we can't treat people like cookie cutter, like, oh, this doesn't work out well, hands up, that's it then. It's like, no, everyone has different needs. So I think that's what I love the most about you.
Who's next?
I keep losing track.
I think it's you, isn't it?
Okay. What have you learned about yourself since being married to me?
I guess I'm kind of trying to think between positives and negatives.
Well, you could say things that you need to work on. That's not negative.
Yeah. I mean, if I look back on it now, like, in light of that question, I'm thinking that I've learned that I can take care of another person. Because that's what I've done with you, like, for the 19 years or whatever, 20 years. I wouldn't really have seen myself being able to do that. I mean, I did have faith that I could do it, and I wanted to do it since I was baptized in 1990. But I learned that I was able to do it and good at it by being married to you.
That's good then.
I mean, apart from the fact that I hurt your feelings so much, I did take care of you as well, didn't I?
Yeah, I think it kind of comes back to an earlier question. I think what I've learned about myself was I was more judgmental than what I thought. So obviously being married, you're in such close proximity to another human being. Things come out, and I think just being not quick to pass judgment. So I could see that I'm like that with everyone, not just you. And the power of encouragement, that I was quick to judge and not quick to encourage.
Eh?
Mhm.
Tell me your favourite thing about this journey we have embarked on.
Yeah, it has definitely been an adventure, you know, like you're somebody that you make your mind up fairly quickly, and once you've made your mind up, you're moving forward quickly as well. So first of all, we moved around different places in Northern Ireland, and then came to London, went to Estonia, came back. Going, your willingness to just uproot yourself. You really don't care where you live. And when we go somewhere, I think you try to make memories. So it's like, even in Estonia, that there was some really unusual situations over there. You just like to make memories. So, funny stories that you can look back on and have a laugh about, I think. So yeah, that's, I think for you, not just the adventures, but actually making memories when we go on these adventures. Like going somewhere, I think, like, remember the trip we went on to Switzerland, to Zurich?
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my favourite trips because we went to see a band that we both liked, but we also did a lot of sightseeing, like history, and really combined both, So I think that was another thing. You want to make it meaningful. So not just making memories for the sake of making memories, but it's got to be meaningful.
Yeah, I think it's the same with me. Like, that's the thing that came into my mind. Like, whenever you read the question, not necessarily about. Yeah, I mean, it's the adventure of practicing Matthew 28:18-20, like, and going to these countries, preaching, converting people, and then seeing what God does in their life over time. It's just like, I would never have dreamed of living my life like this before I was a disciple. I wouldn't have had the faith to see it happening. It's inherent that a significant number of people who want to do what Jesus said have to go to different countries. They just have to do it, and not to pass through necessarily, but to live and know the people and get learn how to say things in their language. And so I think, like, it's the fact that you've been willing to follow me to all the places where I decided we would go, and we came to Birmingham because you wanted to come here. I also agreed to come here, like, because it's our families are so connected, but so the fact that wherever we go, like even the next place we're going to move to this year, you're happy to go along with me, and I feel like we can just take all this furniture and put it in any house. The way God's made our life now, we're just going to have the same feeling no matter where we go. And we can have the same benefits to the people that we're working with. We'll have the same benefits, like in terms of how we help those people together. We can have them in our home, in any place that we go to. So I think that's my favorite thing.
Is it my turn now?
I think I'll read it. When you think back to our first date, what's your favorite memory?
It was weird in our relationship because it's like, what do you classify as a date? Because we met multiple times before we actually had our first date. Like official. Yeah. Like, you're taking me out.
Yeah. But like, what was our first date when we started dating?
No, see, to me, date is like just quality time.
Yeah, well, when did we have quality time before we started dating?
You met me at the airport, and
Yeah.
we travelled down to Derry and stuff.
I suppose if you want to call that our first date, then it sort of is. But it wasn't a date.
So you want me to go the more formal route? Okay.
But actually, we didn't have any dates before we started dating.
We did.
Did we?
Oh no, we didn't.
Yeah.
We
We just started dating in Dublin, right?
Yeah.
So that was our first date when we started dating.
That's weird, isn't it?
I thought about this, like, not just today, like, but recently, like, what dates did we go on?
No, actually, didn't we go on a date with the guy from Armagh? They were both from Armagh. He married that New Caledonia girl with the blonde hair, and
Raymond?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we went to the Louth guy's house, and Deirdre.
Harmon?
Yeah.
Harmon.
We went to the Harmons, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And that was before we were dating?
I think so, yeah.
I don't remember that being before we were dating.
Yeah, because the day we started dating, we didn't go to anyone's house. We went for a Chinese, and then we met everybody in the pub afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
But before that...
We were on a date?
I don't know, now I'm getting confused. It was in Dublin.
No, the Harmons were out in Meath.
No. They were still living in it. That was before the church broke up. Because they were still living in Dublin.
The Harmons?
Yeah.
So we went to the Harmons' house?
Yes.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Let's just take it that it was our first date. Was when we started dating.
Yeah.
Because you can't even remember anything about that. So let's say it was Dublin, right? So what's your favourite thing?
I think the creative side of it, which was like, you took us that Catholic church on the bridge. So I just thought that was so creative. Like, so basically, for those who are listening, we met in Dublin. I'd just been down to my grandmother's in Offaly, which is like 70 miles away. So I met James in Dublin. He sent my suitcase off to a friend's house. Remember, in the taxi? Don't you remember that?
Yeah.
He met me at Houston, and then you asked the taxi man to drop my suitcase off. And then we went straight up to this bridge. And
O'Connell Bridge.
Yeah. And Dublin's a really beautiful... I mean, it was like really dirty Dublin before, but the architecture is beautiful, you know, Georgian architecture. So we went to this O'Connell Bridge, was it? Yeah. And then it was twilight. I think it was dark anyway. When we went in, and there was all these candles. And then you gave me a Bible, and...
The sacristans arrived as we were arriving to open the chapel for a mass that was coming up.
Yeah.
So it was dark, and then they switched the lights on the altar, just on the altar, because they were. So we were sitting like 20 rows back in the dark, sort of semi in the dark. Yeah.
So it just really spoke to both of us, because it was our heritage, you know, what we've been raised with. It was in Dublin, you know, everything about it was very cultural. But then you got the Bible out, with the Bible that you gave me, and you did this chain reference to say, basically, ask me to be your girlfriend. And I just found it all very creative, that you kind of just weaved everything together.
Yeah, for me, like, it's that when we walked up to Stephen's Green and we got into the carriage.
Oh, yeah.
It was a closed carriage, wasn't it?
I thought it was an open.
Was it an open one?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I think it was closed. Well, it was maybe semi-open.
Yeah.
So the bit that we were in was covering us, and then they took us down to the Chinese. Like, that was like surreal.
Yeah.
That was surreal, holding your hand, sitting in a carriage.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my goodness, this is like a dream.
Yeah.
You know, the sound of the horse like trotting along the streets. You know, it was like. I was looking out the window, kind of thinking, people must be wondering who we are, you know.
Like we're VIPs or something.
Yeah, sort of felt like that. And I think somebody given me a £50 note.
It was
note.
No,
Your aunt?
It was my aunt who gave me the money.
Yeah, and that was what paid for the carriage.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah.
Because we needed to pay cash. So it was kind of like, wow, everything's laid on. Like I don't think I remember planning that horse and carriage thing.
No, it was because we had the cash and then we just did it.
So yeah, that was our first date, right?
If you could give advice to disciples wanting to date, what would that be?
Right.
Right. So
how long have we got? So basically, I think the number one thing is that don't base who you date on physical attraction. That's the number one thing. You know, like too many. I just keep hearing it again and again. I've always heard it for 30 years. Oh, I'm not really attracted to that person, and like that is the worst possible basis for dating somebody, man or a woman. Like, and I did it. I already did it twice. And I went on dates with everybody. I went on dates with black sisters, Asian sisters, you name it, every shape and size of sister that there is. I was completely open to going on dates with everybody whenever I was, and I did it every week. I was on dates with everybody. But then after the second time dating, engaged the first time and second time asking the sister to be engaged and her not giving me an answer and then later splitting up with me. 3 years of dating, I was very reflective after that. And I thought, wait a minute, these were both women that looked very similar. White, pretty, around about the same height, around about the same build. And I'm like, that has to be something to do with my attraction. So that's when I made the decision, like, right, I'm not doing that anymore. And I'm going to have an arranged marriage. I'm going to go to India, to the churches over there, and find a sister in India who just wants to get married, doesn't care about the guy, necessarily. It's about who the guy is, not how he looks, and he's a disciple, he's in good standing with the church, he's got a job, the kind of staple things that Indian women think about. So that just changed my mindset completely. And then I met you, and I just see like everything about you being perfect, so many different things in line, and yeah, you're similar to these other women, but it wasn't about my type. It was just about, okay, God's made this happen. It's very clear. So I think like that's the biggest mistake that I've seen people making, is like thinking that attraction has something to do with it, and there's nothing in the Bible about that.
Yeah, kind of similar. Like I remember when I was single, what I'd hear a lot is the list. I don't know whether that still exists now, but people had a list of things. And when I look back, I think I fished out one of my lists a while ago, and it was just like...
You'd actually written it down?
Yeah.
Oh
I think a bunch of us were writing it down, we were telling each other, write this down or whatever. And even when I thought I was being deep, I wasn't being deep at all. There was so much about intellect. My big thing was intellect, and humour, and it was...
Well, you didn't get that in the end, did you?
I did. But so mine was more, there was some physical elements, but my big thing was personality. I kind of worshipped personality. It was my big thing. So, even with that, it sounds deep, but it's not deep at all. So it's hard to think, obviously, when you're a very young Christian, it's hard to think on that deep level, what is deep, what is really deep, and, to really value what God values. You're like, how do I learn that quickly, But I think what I've learned is with the opposite sex, what are you looking for? Somebody who's got to be consistent as a Christian is very important. Consistency, and someone who's long suffering. And I know that's hard to sort of make a measurement of that. You're like, oh, are you long suffering or not? It's but I believe that you can at the same time tell pretty quickly what if somebody's going to be like that or not. Essentially, people sort of fixate or obsess on one person, and I would say that's a big mistake, because then you're picking. And if you say pick 5 people, and just be very impartial, you know, like them all in a very impartial way. And it doesn't matter what colour they are, what racial background, cultural background, just whoever. And then, you know, God will reveal, because they'll all fall off one by one. You know, you'll like them, they won't like you, or whatever. But then you have the security of knowing, should you go on and get married, that you didn't pick that person, that he was picked for you. So that's how I feel that I went wrong in the early days of dating.
That's a wrap.
And cut. Wow.